Hello, dear friends. Namaskar. Welcome to day 6. Today we will explore the effulgent clay of open presence. Yesterday on day 5, we inquired into resting in open presence. And we actually did that as we listened deeply to these words. And as we follow these pointers to look closely at our experience, to touch awareness as it is. So we did that yesterday. And today is really a flow on from resting in open presence. In fact, it is not all that separate from resting in open presence. Why? Because we continue resting and resting and resting, lucidly, wakefully, with ever fresh, immediate presence that is not forced or contrived, that is not a result of our thinking, but rather a result. In fact, you can't even say it is a result. It is purely and simply a direct penetration into our very innermost essence and nature. So we're continuing in that flow of resting in open presence, we realize that in the midst of our everyday life, as we encounter sense objects, as we encounter the environment around us through our visual sense, our ears, our nose, through our taste, through our bodily sensations, we find that open presence is ever flowing without being disrupted or, should I put it, disturbed in any way. And that is possible because open presence is not some extraordinary, special state of affairs, but rather it is our ordinary mind that is functioning as it is meant to function. It is our ordinary consciousness knowingly knowing itself in a way that defies any duality and grasping. It is only because of our habituation and our misrecognition from moment to moment that it seems so difficult, it seems so far away from us, this natural state of open presence. But once we effortlessly settle and recognize and wake up to open presence, then all that happens from then is simply maintaining that flow in the midst of all our experiences. The environmental stimuli, sight, sound, smells, taste, touch, they appear within presence not as anything separate from itself, but rather we recognize all of these experiences of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch as none other than the playful, blissful sport of presence. In other words, they are the modulation or activity of awareness, and it's not separate in any substantial way from awareness itself. Now, this is quite a radical insight, although it is just the way it is, because apart from our experiencing, there is really nothing that can be said about what is beyond this mere experiencing. Whether there's an actual object existing by itself apart from our experiencing of it, that is a speculation. But what is real and true and truly experienced in the moment is the experiencing itself, the seeing, the hearing, the tasting, the touching, which is none other than the playful display of presence. We can use the word effulgent play. Effulgent meaning radiant, bright, shining, because that's what it is. Sights, sounds, smells, taste, touch, they appear brightly. They appear consciously. Even when we are not directly conscious of something in terms of being attentive to something, yet even our inattention itself is a form of consciousness. There is a knowingness and experiencing element in every state of mind, including the lack of attention. When awareness has an object, we call it attention. When awareness is directed to an object, we call it attention. But when awareness is divested of its object and rests within its own place, then we say it's pure awareness. But in either case, awareness exists and abides and is present. So open presence. Within that silent, still space, open presence in the midst of all the experiencing, which is none other than the effulgent play of our presence itself. In addition to sensory experiencing, thoughts, emotions, intentions, our choices, our willingness, our willing of something, our volition, our cognition, that is thoughts, our emotion, that's feeling. All of these so-called internal activity of our heart and mind, again, it's none other than the effulgent play of awareness itself. It takes place in consciousness. It is known by consciousness and is made out of consciousness. Thoughts, feelings, intentions, none other than modulation of consciousness, activity of consciousness, effulgent play of our open presence. Now, when we use the word open presence, there is a certain distinctiveness to it. We're not just talking about consciousness in its functioning. We're talking about being consciously conscious at the deepest and most subtle level of our experience. And it is in that sense that we can say, when one is fully immersed in open presence, recognizing, realizing, opening, awakened, fresh, relaxed, restful, then all our experience share that same taste of presence as its effulgent display. That's what it is. So you can say open presence has two aspects. Open presence in its essence, which is still, without any activity. It's just resting within itself. That is when the mind is still, no thoughts. When the heart is still, no emotion. When there is no engagement with external stimuli, whether it's visual form or sounds or whatsoever, but awareness resting within itself consciously. That's open presence in its essence. And that is exquisite. There is no sense of separation or demarcation or boundary. It's a boundaryless luminosity. And then the second aspect is when open presence is dynamically manifesting. So the effulgent play of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch in our everyday experience is consciously seen as an arising out of this open presence and taking place within open presence, and as none other than open presence, but it's open presence in motion, open presence in that effulgent dynamic display. So in either case, there is freedom, there's a lack of reactivity and anguish, but there's a ongoing ceaseless flow of cognizance, empty, open, undefended, and yet deeply assured. Yes, rest in open presence. And as you listen, as you look, as you sense your bodily sensation, recognize them as none other than effulgent play of your open presence. Effortlessly, softly, luminously. In this way, one can experience different environments, different situations, engage in relationships with different people, friends, with your family members, with your work colleagues, from this vantage point of open presence in stillness and in its effulgent play. So nothing is excluded. All of life becomes included into meditation. So in this direct and immediate path, there is not so much a talk of integrating your meditation practice or technique into your life, as if meditation is one small part of your life, one small technique that you try to fit into everything else. No. There's a totally different perspective. In open presence in this direct path, all of life is integrated into meditation. Meditation is first and foremost a priority, a prior ground of existence into which everything else is included. Your work life, your family life, your social relationships and friendships, your community participation, or if you have a member of any religious community, your faith group participation, or even your recreation time, everything, your activities of daily living, just a simple, basic activities of eating, drinking, showering, and so forth, dressing, everything becomes integrated into that oceanic flow of meditative open presence. And so that the division between life and meditation dissolves, melts away. And in fact, you don't even need to use the word meditation anymore. Just pure, simple, open being. And it is a beautiful way to live, beautiful way to die. For in fact, in every moment, the living and dying, every moment coming and going, rising and falling, our experiences, thoughts, feelings, rising, falling. If we can see that rising and falling, that birthing and dying, as part of this effulgent play of awareness, oh what? Freedom, coolness, equanimity. So there you have it. Effulgent play of open presence. So dear friends, I thank you for engaging in this inquiry, this restedness in presence. May open presence and its effulgent play be your day-to-day, moment-by-moment experience and realization. Enjoy. Namaskar.